Crab Castle Forge, what's going on? It's starting right now. Sorry, I got some light in the background there. So, I'm firing everything up here and getting ready. So, as the title says, I'm going to show guys that make knives. So, I've been doing this lately. Make knives. So, I've been doing this lately. Sorry about that. I've been doing this lately. I figured it out probably about a year ago, where I can get a half a dozen knives epoxied up, handled up, and ready to finish within a couple hours. You can spend all day and do a dozen knives if you want. And at the end of 3-4 hours from when you start, you'll be finishing the finished handles on them. I'm going to show how that's done. So, I'm contacting some people, telling them I'm live. You right with this? Brown sugar, what's going on? See in the back of my head here, are you? Close. Come on, where are you? Just for 2 hours. Okay. So, like the title says, if you've seen me in your feed, what I'm going to be doing tonight. I had a fellow today that I was watching his live stream, and he was putting some handles on knives, and I was telling him, there's a faster way of doing that, so you don't have to clamp them up and wait overnight. That I had figured out. So this is what this is going to be about. I'm going to be back and forth to my shop showing you how I do this. Putting the scales on knives fast. Or in a couple hours you can finish them all. Good evening, Crab Castle Fort. Crab Castle Forge. What's your favorite knives to make, Crab Castle? Do you make knives or do you just forge? Blades, blacksmith or bladesmith? Or both? Speaking of crab, I didn't make crab tonight, but I'm making a video on it on how I make it. I made sardine cakes tonight for dinner, and wild caught perch and wild caught flounder with the sardine cakes. They're like crab cakes, but they're made with sardines instead. I make knives mostly stock removal. Yeah, I'm mostly stock removal too. It's a lot faster and easier. Yeah, a lot less time. You know, but I do make hand forged knives too, but not too often. I might make a half a dozen a year. I'll never get into Damascus. Just the effort and the time doing it is it's too much time, too much effort, and I can make way more knives than the time it takes you to make one bill of Damascus. Damascus hunting knives. Yep, yep. I love making a good fixed blade. In fact, I'm going to show you on one of my fixed blades how I do this process here. So I'm kind of waiting for a few more people to get in here. Some kitchen knives. Yep, I just made myself out of 1084. A nice butcher knife. It's got see-through scales on it. See the pins in it. Brown burlap micarta. And it cuts like a dickens. I have it up in my kitchen all the time. I gotta make a nice sheath for it yet. But I'm gonna do like a Puko style sheath. I'll recover this. A little dangler on the top of it and hang it in the kitchen. So I guess I'll wait a little bit till some more people get here. In the meantime, I can move my phone over here to the table. Oh shit, I forgot to lock one of the things there. Pardon me. So basically, I was going to show you all what I'm doing here. I got to cut out one more scale yet for the opposite side. Of course, you need two scales to do this. Cut my pins, and then I'm going to show you how I put them on quickly and go from there. But in the process, I'll show you an example of what I'm doing here. You got the knife blank right here, right? See, that's the edge of your knife blank. So you drill your holes. So you'll have two sets of holes, right? One in the front, one in the back, or you could have several holes, 3 or 4. So there's one in the front and one in the back, or vice versa. So there's your two holes. So what I'm going to show you what I do is, now here's the knife scales. Let me make this a little bigger. All right. See, there's your knife laying flat. There's the blade, just a rendition of it anyway. You got your 2 pins, right? Then over here you'd probably have your lanyard hole. You could put a lanyard brass tube in there if you want. If not, not necessary. Whatever you decide to do, and it can act as an extra way, means of epoxying the scales on too. But now here you got your scales on here. All right. Now you got to drill your holes through your scales. Right, like so. Drill your holes through your scales. All right, now where the pins come in, you want to bevel 3 to 4 millimeters. Okay, 3 to 4 millimeters. So actually, when you drill it out, it'll look like this. You know, like a countersunk for a screw head, right? This is the concept behind this. All right. All your pinholes on both sides, both scales, will have that counter bore. Okay. Now, when your pin goes in, whatever the thickness of your pin is, say your pin's 4.5 millimeters. Well, you want it like you want it like 6 millimeters higher than the scale. You want to give yourself plenty of pin. You know, which will be about 3/16 of an inch or better. So here's your pin going through. Okay, you know, put some crosses and hatches on that to show you what's the pin. Same thing here, but I'll leave this out until I'm ready to show you what I'm doing on this front. All right, so you always want to go like the thickness of the pin out plus another third. You know what I mean? You never want to go shorter than the thickness of the pin when you peen them in. Reason for this is when you peen them in, this is going to start mushrooming. As you peen, that's going to start mushrooming. And this is getting driven in. And as that gets driven in, this whole thing's mushrooming to that counter bore, see? So the more you peen these in the tighter you get it to your counter bore. Flip this around. See here? So it'll look like this when you're done peening it. See, this is your pin in here now. Right? So it'll look like a nail head on the top. Since you had more than enough material and you're shoving that material in here, it's expanding. It's expanding. As it goes down, it goes out. It mushrooms. And it fills this counter bore, see? Once that counter bore is filled, you're ready to sand these off flush. Okay? So essentially what I do when I do these knives is, like I said, I'll go the thickness plus a third longer than the pin itself on each side. Start peening them down, and as I peen down, that brass is expanding and filling that counter bore 3 to 4 millimeters deep. So now you created a nail head out of that pin, right? And as you do both sides, you peen them both where it expands and goes in and creates a nail head. You're drawing these two scales together tightly, see? The more you peen these in and fill that counter bore, create that Phillips style head, right? The tighter these get, okay? So if you epoxy your pins like you normally do, epoxy the bottoms of the knife scales, peen them in just like that, and once you get it done, you'll see this wood suck in as tight as can be to that blank. Once you get it done, there's no clamps on it. You can clean off all your overrun epoxy, let it dry in 2 hours, and you can finish the whole knife. You know. So that's what I'm going to show you now. So who else is in here? I am a little new at knife making, about 2 years. Well, this is a good lesson for you. You're going to watch me do it live. I got to cut this one out yet. Here's the knife I got. This ain't a heat treated knife or nothing. We'll just act like it's finished. I'm going to drill this out on this side, finish this for the other side. The shape ain't Coke bottle yet. It's just flat, and that's what I wanted when I peen them together. Okay, I kind of started the beveling on it. I'm good enough to where I can peen these on and have these completely finished to where they are flush to the whole blank. But that takes years of practice. Okay, I'm just showing you the basics of the concept of being able to peen on your scales without clamping anything. Let it go 2 hours later. When they're together, you can get the brass flush, and then just start shaping your handle on the sanding wheel. And if you make you're probably not making a half a dozen or better knives a day, but especially for guys that make a half a dozen or better knives a day, this is the way to go. You don't have to handy up a bunch of damn clamps to do half a dozen knives, right? You're looking at 18 to 30 clamps. I don't need any clamps, man. I peen these things on. They're tight. They suck. Them brass pins suck this in so tight to that metal. It ain't going nowhere. 2 hours, epoxy pretty much cures hard enough to work with. And even if you did overheat them a little bit, they're not going to come out because of the expansion of the bevel, see, into the hole. So that's what I'm going to do. So give me a second. I'll be right back. Yeah, and you can do this with any material, whether it's buffalo or bone or stag, you know, shark's tooth, whatever, or molar, fossilized teeth, whatever you use. Wood, wood is less prone to cracking. You know what I mean? Especially stabilized hardwoods, burls, birches. But now when you get into the bone and in the stag, especially the bone, you're gonna crack some scales if you don't, you know, lightly peen on each side. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to over peen on one side, flip it over and over peen on the other side, because then you're asking for problems. So you'll go back and forth, and I'll show the process as I do it. Unfortunately, I'm only doing it on wood. I don't have an available cutout stag that's flat and ready for a knife right now. So just showing the concept for guys that want to learn how to do this without clamping their scales down and moving on to the next knife, or you know, getting them all peened up and ready, and then by the time you get a half a dozen done, it'll be almost 2 hours. You can start on the first one and start shaping it. This ain't even a heat treated knife. This is 1084. The purpose of this video is I'm showing guys how to peen these on so you don't have to use clamps. Epoxy them on, peen them on, and you're done. Clean up your overflow. 2 hours, you can shape the knife and it's done. And this is a concept that's good for guys that do a half a dozen knives a day, or likes to do 2 or 3 in a night. You don't want to free up a bunch of clamps. You don't even need the clamps. I use them temporarily until I get the pins in it, you know what I mean? But once I peen it, I'm cleaning it, and it's ready to go in 2 hours. And that's why I'm doing this live. Yeah, this is my sow buster. You'll see my short videos on it. I'm making cell. It's essentially a side buster made into a fixed blade, and it's a pocket drop. It's got the ulti clip on it. It goes right in your front pocket. So this is my design, my style of knife. I wanted a fixed side buster style knife, so this is what I came up with. Now these, I'm just using this as an example on how to do this. I'll take it back apart, but When I make these, I make the two pins. They're removable hex head screws, so you can change out the scales and put different scales on the knife. Once you buy it from me, you can get different scales for it. But I'm just using this one since it's not heat treated yet, just for an example to show people how to do this process. No, the size of pin I use looks like a 3/8 inch pin. But when I use the hex head bolts, they're 3/8 is all also. And I countersink the scales, and then you could take the scales off and change them, or you can keep it skeletal if you want. But some guys will start out the basic package from me. They'll just get the Kydex sheath, which is the cheapest, cheaper than leather. They'll get the skeletal knife, which looks good still when it's finished. You know, I mostly do stone washes on my knives, and I got a guy that's going to start Cerakoting the knives to match the Kydex sheath. But you know, start out with a skeletonized knife system in the Ulti-Clip Kydex basic sheath for $125, and then you could buy scales for it as you can afford it, or whatever. I want to make this knife affordable to everybody, and I think I had $125 handmade with a lanyard on it, Kydex sheath with an Ulti-Clip front pocket drop is well worth $125, and then you'll get your scales from me for like $40 a set. Or you can buy the whole knife for $175, the works, with the leather sheath instead of Kydex. Yeah, I love the Coke bottle too. But all right, I'm gonna get set up in the shop here and start cutting out this other scale so I can start showing this process. It's good we got a couple blade guys in here now, but I told the others I'm going live and I don't see them yet. So no, I'm not in Kodiak. It's named after I named my business after my Kodiak truck, GMC limited edition Kodiak pickup. That came from Northwest Canada. The owner's manual is in French. So I'm actually 1 hour south of Chicago out in the country. I live in a town of 5,000 people, and it's a small town. And I live on the outskirts. I got 5 acres in the country. So, but I do have Kodiak, or not Kodiak, but Alaskan made knives. Okay, not too far from North Carolina. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I go to North Carolina every year. I got married there. It's 17-hour drive, but I can get there in 16 and a half. I go to Newport, North Carolina every year. I got married in Buxton on the Outer Banks in the old foundation of Cape Hatteras where it used to sit. That's where I got married 20 years ago. And one of my mods, Claude Williams, he's probably in here lurking. And he's from Newport, so I go to his house for 2-3 weeks, park my camper in his backyard, and we fish and do whatever we got to do. And I bring home a bunch of seafood with me and stuff for eating. But I'm there every year. You go ahead, girl. Thanks for stopping in. You know, like I said, this is an instructional live anyway, so you won't benefit too much from it. But you can always go back and watch it. And I'm only going to be here a couple hours and I'm done. I'm going to spend the rest of the night up with the wife. Newport, North Carolina, just outside of Buxton and not Buxton, Havelock and yeah, Havelock and what's that other town? I'm in them all. You live close to Newport? Awesome. Yeah, I'm at Atlantic Beach all the time. I love it there. I've been to what's that place? The military fort there, just outside of Morehead City, where the beach is. I've been to that place like a dozen times. Yes, I fish. I'm a semi-pro bass angler, multi-species, walleye and bass mostly. But I now fish for saltwater fish as well. I love popping the corks, bone fishing with my fly rod. You're in Jacksonville? Cool. Not too far away. So I got some property there. We're gonna set up a little 5 acre loft there in North Carolina for the winter. Come back here in the summer. Yeah, everybody is. You know, that Arctic blast came all the way down to Mississippi, and it's you guys just got done with 10, 12 inches of snow. My buddy Claude in Newport, he had 17-inch, 22-inch snowdrifts on his back porch. Couldn't even open his back porch door. He told me it's all melting up now, so it's a little cool there still, but hey, it's good for you guys to feel our Midwest weather once in a while. I visit all the tackle shops there, man. All of them. I bought and shit in just about every tackle shop around Havelock, Newport, Morehead City, Atlantic Beach. Maysville, huh? Where's that about? Is it south of Newport, down there by closer to Wilmington? By the way, I live in Wilmington, Illinois. Crab Castle Forge. Then I know you. Yeah. Which shop you work in? I told a couple guys in the shops there in Atlantic Beach, up Highway 58, huh? What's the name of the shop? If you make them available, definitely would love to get one or two from Kodiak. Oh yeah, these are available. I got 6 of them more ready to heat treat, and when people order them from me, I put them on my eBay store, and the links are in my description if you want to go to my eBay store. So I'm gonna put up some pictures of this knife. I haven't gotten it up yet because I just started the eBay store. I had a website and I got killed with spam, so I discontinued the website. But you could contact me, tell me what handles you want on it, and what type of sheath, and how much you're willing to pay. Because like I said, it starts out at $125, and a full package can go up to $185. Depends on what you get, whether it's a Kydex sheath or a leather sheath. You know, whether it's regular natural material handles or bone or buffalo. You know what I mean? On Emerald Isles. The Real Outdoors. I've heard of that place. I haven't been there. Yeah, I have heard of that place. I know my buddy Claude's been there many times. He's been to them all. But what's that one shop I go to there by the beach? Chasing Tails. That's one of my favorites. And then the fly shop next to it there. Can't remember the name of it. And then there's a couple other I've been to in Newport or in Havelock. Yeah, they tend to have a waiting list. See, when you want to get a hold of me, email me and have you make you one of these. It'll take 3 to 4 days for me to have it completely finished. So it'll take a week by the time you want it on its way to your house. So 7 to 10 days you can get it. I'm not booked too far right now. I only got 3-4 knives in front of you. But if you order one now through my email, you go to my link, get my email. You could have it 10 to 12 days. And see, in an email, you can tell me what kind of handles you want, and they're interchangeable. Like I said, you get handles from me that have 2 hex screws in it, and then the lanyard hole, of course. And then you can change them out for new scales. Say you start out with wood scales, and you want bone or buffalo or ram horn or whatever you want. I can make that happen for you on your knife and send them to you for an additional cost. Like I said, you can start out with a skeletal. It'll be all stone washed. And I like to put a little carving on the top of the blades. But you can see my short video on this knife right now. The Kodiak Edge Sow Buster. S-O-W, like a sow grizzly bear. A sow bear. Sow buster. instead of sod busting. We are bigger than Chasing Tails. Yeah, Chasing Tails is just a local inland shore shop, you know what I mean? Just for that specific area. But a lot of them in the outskirts are bigger chains and bigger branches. I've had a couple of wanted me to get my knives in there. I make fishing fillet knives too. Yeah, yeah, Adam, a Danma. Go to my shorts list and look for the sow buster. You'll see the whole knife. In fact, if you're familiar with Deep South Cutlery, they have Seth, the son of Billy Ray, that owns Deep South Cutlery. He's got one of my knives, and Deep South's got a short video on it too. I make them from either 1084 or 1095. This is 1084. I'm big in the high carbon steel blades. Razor sharp, easy to sharpen, quick. You know, take care of them. They're easy to maintain. They don't chip out, blow out like stainless. I'm not set up for stainless. I never cared to. I still continue to like. I'm old school, high carbon steel man. You know, I've been collecting knives 50 years, and I've been making them 20, and I just love high carbon steels. Just got to take care of them. That's all. You got a restaurant too? Yeah, I've heard of that, man. I've heard of that place. Hell, me and Claude might even have ate there. If Claude's lurking, I'd like him to come in and talk to you about it, but he might not be. I told him I was live, but he's not feeling too good right now. So anyways, I'm gonna get going on this. Set up at my shop over there. So you're not into those carbide rich super steels. Carbide rich? Powdered metals? Metallurgy steels? Not really. Not really. As far as I go is D1, D2. But yeah, I mean, to me, a knife is a tool and one that's easy to maintain and sharpen quickly. You know what I mean? And who the hell is going to take out in the woods with them a blade with Magna Cut on it or S90V? All right. Because they don't stay sharp forever, especially if you're doing a lot of cutting and a lot of use out of it out in the woods. A woodsman and true any true woodsman and any true bushman will tell you their preferred all-around knife to carry out in the woods and the mountains is the 1095 high carbon steel full tang blade. Like I said, they're easy to maintain, they're easy to take care of. You just got to take care of them. You know, I got a wax that I sell. You can put on the blades, keep them from rusting. You know, and then just in a matter of a minute or two, you could put a razor's edge on them. You know. Man, everybody that I emailed told them I was live. They're not even here. It's like, oh, I don't want to watch this live. They probably lurked and said, oh, he's showing how to do this. I don't want to watch. Or they're on Deep South Cutlery trying to buy knives. So I'm going to take this over to my shop. My messy shop. Oh, I got to raise these legs. I guess it's okay. You can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'll raise it. I'll raise them. Bear with me here a second. There, that's a little better. Okay. Be right back. First thing I gotta do is cut out this one here, get it ready. This back saw is a Stetson's and Sons. It's 120 years old. They were the original makers of the saws in the United States for many years in the 1800s. In fact, they made a lot of blank steels for squares and levels and stuff like that for other tool makers. I got the original back saw table for it too. I got a table saw over there I can cut this time too, but I love working with hand tools. Of course, I'll have these scales all cut out ready to go for half a dozen or more knives if I don't. Okay. CPM 154, essentially 52-100 steel. Putting a little more soul into your work. Yeah. Get a little more hand feel on the project, right? Like I said, I got an industrial table saw here. I could use that instead, but and when I make lots of knives, that's what I usually do. Okay, I'm not going to worry about burning anything. I'm just a demonstration of how I peen these knives together. Of course, I kind of shaped this one. I'm not going to shape this one. I'm just going to get this on a knife to show you how it's done. Okay. So now, before you do peen these on a finished blade, you you do want to get them halfway sanded, especially the front, like usual. You know what I mean? Before you peen on, you don't want to have to sand up against the blade in any of this area. So you will finish this part of the knife, you know. Get it close to, close to. Unless you got to take off when you do it by hand. Well, you get the basic idea. Okay, so that's done. You know, basic. If you do want to get these fronts completely done, nice and smooth down to, say, 400 or 600 grit, whatever you go to. Now I got a matching set. Now I got to drill my holes. In order to do that, I'll show you what's next. I got to go get what I need in the other room. Yeah, I bet. I mean, you guys experience some once in a while weather there, that's for sure. Okay. I got some super glue here. This is what I like to do. Now, like I said, I'm just showing you this peening process more than anything than the aesthetics of the knife. So what I'll do is I'll put some super glue on the knife here. You know, super glue these scales down onto the knife. Come around here. Clamp the tape for a few seconds so that super glue gets nice and set. That's what holds it in place while I drill the holes in it. Doesn't take much. No, it shouldn't come off. Yep. I'll get the drill bit the size I need. That's a little too big. I gotta get a smaller one. Jerry the Shelby knife guy, what up? Hey, this other fellow in here's from North Carolina too. Why don't you guys talk to each other where you're from? Knucklehead. All right, let me get my bit that I need here. That's kind of small. Am I sure that's it? Not it? Yeah, that's not it. That's it right there. Okay. Change my bit out. All right, now I'll go ahead and drill out these two holes. I'm not going to worry about doing the lanyard hole because this is just a demonstration for doing the peening. Okay, that's one set right there. Right? Now, same process. Put some super glue on this other side. Line them up. You know, you do this really nice if you were doing it. You know, I'm just showing you for the pinning process, but that's pretty close. Come back over here. Squeeze it together. Let it set a second. Brother Claude, where's he at? Did he come in? Claude's from North Carolina, but he might be lurking. I told him I was live. Trying to get them even with each other. Well, you don't want to cut them out exact to the knife. You know what I mean? Get them on the knife and then sand them down to the knife. Then they'll be exact. Unless you're doing a special finish on the back or stone washing the whole thing, then you want to try to get them exact. But now I'll take that out. Come back over here and drill the other side. I don't worry about the blowout. I'll show you here. I don't worry about this little bit of blowout because these are wider than they have to be anyway. So they'll get sanded down, usually an eighth or so here on this side, and then tapered down. But like I said, it's crucial that you get these fronts completely finished and sanded to the 400 to 600 grit. Now, when you get your holes drilled, right? Now you can just do one of these numbers. Take your scales out. Put this lid back on the super glue. Okay. Now, I got this reaming tool that works good for 3/8 pins. Okay. And this is what I make that counter bore I showed you in the picture in the beginning. Put this in here, and you'll go about 3 to 4 millimeters deep. Look at it. See, I'm making a countersink here. If you don't have one of these, you can use a drill press, and I'll show you that. I didn't know if I got the right bit in here. See, I'll use this drill bit here. 3/8 pin. This drill bit is 5/16. This will make that bevel. See how that is beveled? That'll put that same bevel in the scale. So I forgot to tell you that you do want to taper these fronts after you drill them out. Because when you put this countersink in here, you want to be below your lowest surface. You don't want to put them in here high and then taper the scale. Okay, because if you do that, then you're going to take that nail head away that you created with the bit. So I'm going to get a little bit sharper bit here. And I'm only going to go in about 3 to 4 millimeters. That's it. And maybe a little deeper than that. There you go, there's one. You really should do this, start the bit first, so you know exactly where you need to be, and then turn it on. Okay, again, now, see that counter bore? It goes in about 3 to 4 millimeters. That's what I'm gonna expand that pin as I peen it down. It's gonna expand out and it's gonna create a nail head essentially in that counter bore. And that's what's gonna get these things to force down tighter onto the blade, onto the tang of the knife. It'll virtually suck it down and make it solid. Once you sand this down flush, once you peen that over and you fill these counter bores with that brass pin, it acts as a nail head and you don't have to clamp these in place on the knife. I mean, you can virtually, in 2 hours, you can, as soon as you're done painting these on, you can clean off all the overflow of epoxy, and then wait 2 hours and then you can completely finish the outside of the knife. So, I'm not going to epoxy these on. You guys know how to epoxy blades on or scales on. We'll just pretend that I epoxy these on and epoxy the pins, okay? So from there now, I'll come over here. I got a little anvil on my vise there that I can peen on. So I'll put the knife here, see how much I need, or the scale on here. See how much pin I got to take off. So remember, I told you, you want the thickness of the pin past the wood and about 1/3 more. So right about there, okay? Actually, I'll go a little shorter. Right about there. And a little bit more than the thick. So now I'll take a marker. Mark this other side. I need 2 of them pins, of course. So I'll cut that off, cut another pin, and we'll just pretend that I epoxy this together when I go to peen it, okay? That way I don't have to take, drill everything out and worry about the epoxy too. Now my front pin would be shorter if I had this handle tapered down. So what I do when I make these scales, I'll drill out both sides and then take them off the blade or off the tang. And then I'll make my taper because you don't want to be drilling into angled wood, right? Once you drill the straight up and down holes and you taper them down to how you want them tapered before they go on the knife, then you can put your counter bores in like I just showed you. There's one. I'll mark this for the second one. Actually, I'll do it the other way. So I want this factory side on the outside. right, there's my 2 pins. Okay. Now, normally, when we do pins, we bevel the cut side so there's no burrs. And it's easier to guide them in. All right, now you'll set your table up, get your epoxy ready. Put your epoxy on here, put your epoxy on the scale right, and then put it down on the knife. Put your epoxy on your pin, run it through the knife. Right? Same with this. Epoxy on this pin, run it through the knife. Okay? Then you'll sit down on your table, you'll put your epoxy on this, put your epoxy on this side, on the pins, put your knife down there, right? Now we're golden. We're ready to peen. Where did I put my peening hammer? I will find it. It's in the other room. That's where I used it last. We got extract circular activities apply. Be back soon, Barbara. All right, Big Jerry and knucklehead. We gotta stay up real late for that. You're not staying up. I'm done in about an hour at the most. I told you this is only be a 2-hour instructional video. All right. So I got it close enough. No. All right. Now, you got it epoxied together. You got a little run out coming here and there. You kind of wipe it as you go. You got your pins in, right? You can take a, if you want, it's up to you. And it'd be easier if this is your first time doing it. Just put a clamp in the middle. That's all. Because you're still going to be able to peen with this clamp in the way. You know, get it somewhat tight, like that. Now I can still peen here, see? All right. Turn it around. Like I said, a little on each side. I don't know if that clamp's going to cooperate with me. I'll move it back further. I need more area to peen. All right, now I'll peen this side. Turn it around, peen the other side. I still got these pins a little too long, so I'm going to take some off. Oh, there goes my other pin. Turn it around. Now, like I said, you can see this here. See that pin starting to expand now by going down and out, and it's by the time I get to the bottom, I'll fill that counter board completely. All right. Same on this side. You can see the counter board now, but that pin will start laying in there. When you do other material like bone, especially, it'll crack easy. So you want to just peen a few times on each side. Man, I keep dropping that damn thing. Oh, I'll just leave it off, I guess, until I'm ready for it. Now if I can find it. Where's it fall? Always falls in your mess. There's another soldering paste. Where did he go? Come on. There it is. All right. I'm going to leave that off until I'm ready for it. Checking her out, watching the expansion. All right, I'm getting to that point now. I can clean this up a little bit. You can see them scales are sucked in tight to that tank. All right, now I'll do the other side. A little too long. I got that mushroom on the other side. Or bevel. Okay, now. Hey, Paul, what's up, man? Okay, so what we got here now is, remember my counter bore went in 3 to 4 millimeters. It don't look good on the top, but this pin is now expanded out and down. So that virtually sucked these scales 100% down to the tang. All right. So what I normally do is let the setup for 2 hours, let the epoxy dry. 2 hours, it's hard enough to work with the knife. But for demonstration purposes, I'll show you now what you do. And that's why I said it's important before you pin these together, after you drill your holes in both scales, you want to get your taper made because, of course, the pin will be shorter in the front than in the back, and you got to have that taper. But while you drill it, you want them flat so you can get a nice straight down drill. Then you'll take the scales, mark them off, and then taper them to where you want them and get these fronts completely done before you peen this on, because you don't want to have to sand in here once the knife's done. So the only thing you have to really do the finish on is the front of the knife. Front of the knife, see? So let's say this thing set up 2 hours now. No clamps allowed. See, I don't have to clamp this or nothing because this peen this together so tight, I'm not going to get these scales tight to that thing. And when I sand this, you'll see what I mean. We're going to do some more painting on this front. I tapered it. I want to put a semi-taper on. Okay. Now, like I said, this has been 2 hours. The epoxy set up. You got the pins where you want them. The pins are expanded in them holes, acting like a nail head that draws these scales in tight. Okay, now like I said, it's been 2 hours now. The epoxy's hardened. We'll go ahead and shape it all around. Okay, now epoxy set up 2 hours later, right? Look at how tight that is. Epoxy's already set up, and if it's even heated up a little bit, it'll reset. But it's these peened, expanded pins that suck these things down tight to the tank. See, I don't have to wait. No, I don't have to wait overnight for to harden and clamp it up and wait overnight. After 2 hours of hard time with that epoxy, go ahead and give your final shape to it. Now this will go in my vise here. Since this is a blank blade, I don't have to worry about scratching it. I won't have to put it between two pieces of wood. I'm just going to put it in here because this is all got to get annealed and heat treated and everything else. Now I'm ready for the final sanding. So you'll get this perfectly curved and then the bottom perfectly curved. If I could drill this out nice, I could use these scales on this knife after I heat treat it. This is a pretty maple. One side's maple, the other side looks like hackberry. Get them to look about the same on both sides. This is 150. Do I got any? 80? I gotta get more sandpaper. I know that. Where did I put it? I go through so much sandpaper, it ain't even funny. Here's 50. I'm just showing you guys an example, that's all. Now, like I said, had this been an actual knife, I would have got these two fronts perfectly down to 600 grit, exact to each other. But you can see though how tight that gets when you peen them knife. You peen that knife together. Let me see if I can get it out of the bright light. I mean, there ain't a gap in it. See that? That's because this is drawn together tightly. And after 2 hours, you can finish the knife handle. You don't have to wait overnight on these. If you counter bore your holes to allow that brass pin to expand into it, creating a nail head, out and in, sucking this wood together, that tang. That's how you do it, man. I can have 6 of these knives done in about 6 hours. 2 hours of setup time with epoxy, hour prep time, 2 hours setup time, and then like an hour between each knife getting the handles done. Easy 8-hour day. I could have 6 knife handles, epoxied, peened, and ready to go the next day. Like I said, I just did a half-ass sand job on it, but it's pretty close now. I could toy around with it and get it closer. And I could drill these out and use this on the next knife, or on this one if I get it, once I get it, done. So that's how that's done. Let me get some dust off the front of my camera. Once again, I'll reiterate it for those of you who just got here, haven't seen what I did. You can go back and watch it, and I'll just show you a little more here what I did do. Okay, here's the knife as it sits, right? So what I did, this is your knife scale. Knife scales, that's the wood. Here's your pins come through. When they come through, they're straight. Before I put the pins in, I made a counter bore 3 to 4 millimeters deep from the top of the scale. 3 to 4 millimeters deep, see? And as you peen down on that, it gets wider and wider and wider and wider and wider to where it can't get wider anymore. So therefore, as you peen down, it's also pushing down with this counter board where you're making a peen nail head. It's pushing down and out. So that's sucking these scales in tight. I mean, as tight as they can get. No clamps allowed, right? So you'll have a mushroom head like this, and that whole counter board will be filled with brass because you expanded it by peening it down. And that's the purpose of peening a pin, right? Especially a soft metal like brass. You do that on both sides. Both of these scales suck in. You don't need to clamp your scales on overnight and wait. Epoxy generally, depending on how good the epoxy is, 2 to 2.5 hours it's set up. After 2.5 hours, you'll peen this, epoxy it, peen it, let it set up for 2 hours, and then go to the sander, like I said, because you mushroomed all this out, you force that down tight against the tang, and these scales are not going anywhere, and they are as tight can be. No gaps. Perfect. So that's how you do it, folks. If you're a knife maker, that's why I made this video. One of my friends' lives, he was putting scales, and I told him on his live, I said, you could do that much faster. You don't have to set the clamps on it, wait for it overnight. I said, I'll go live tonight to show you. So I don't know if he came by or not tonight, but that's how it's done. I use a tapered pin reamer. Then pin doesn't look so much bigger. Well, if you do a long drawed reamer, like that one I was using, you can go halfway down on it into the scale with that reamer. It'll give you a long, elongated ream. And, what's the 1/16 of an inch wider? I mean, you know what I mean? If you're putting 3/8 inch pins in, what's an extra 32nd or 16, right? But now when I make these, I don't even peen them anymore. I use the hex bolt heads, hex screws, so people could take these out and put different scales on them. That's why I made it that way. Unless somebody wants me to peen a handle on for them, I won't until they want it done. But this process is, like I said, after you epoxy and paint it in, clean off your runoff, and just let it set for 2-3 hours, and then you're ready to sand her down to a finished knife. You don't have to wait overnight, because with them things being painted in there so solid, you know, you can sand away on this and they won't back off at all, because that brass won't allow it. The pins won't allow it, whether it's nickel, silver, or brass. So, I mean, if you do like 6 knives or 12 knives a day and you get a lot of orders, that's the way to go. Then you don't have to free up 30, 40 clamps for a dozen knives, you know what I mean? And you're doing a finished knife in 3 hours. And then the next knife, and then the next knife. You know, in good 8 hours, you can have a dozen knives done and not wait overnight for nothing. So, I hope that helped you a little bit, give you a little insight to the window of doing it. Let me take this back over. I got to plug my phone in. I got to go get my cell phone stand over there first. But, you know what? I like to sit around and bullshit, but I'd rather make my spacers for this backside of this knife I'm making. This is a copy of a Marbles Woodsman that I'm doing. I got to make 2 more micarta spacers, 1 more black spacer, and cut out 2 more brass spacers for the back, and then I'm going to put the deer stag on the end. So if you want to watch me do that, might as well get something done here instead of bullshit. Get these spacers done, and then 9 o'clock. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to do it tonight. I told my wife by 8 o'clock I'd be upstairs, so I'll do it. So what I got here is stacked leather, just like the original knife. Let me take my phone over to my other stand and I'll show you what I'm doing. I'll bring it up online for you. I ain't got enough time to go back there and do that. I've done a lot today already. So, bring it up on my computer. Find the knife. Oh, I better plug my phone in. %. Good timing. All right. Man. Any questions what I did tonight? Did you get anything out of it? 1/16 is a lot. Well, it can be, yeah, but you know, I think 3/8" pins on a knife are a lot. You know, look at original Sodbuster. How big is that front pin on a case Sodbuster? It's bigger than 3/8. It's bigger than I mean, it's almost a half an inch. You know what I mean? It just depends on the knife you're doing. You can go smaller holes, smaller pins, and then when you peen it out. But the purpose behind it, like I told you, is you can get a system going without using clamps and just go to town on these knives. You don't need to clamp these scales on and weigh. And I'll show you. Now, hence, this ain't a solid pin all the way through. This is probably a 5/32 brass pin with a brass washer that it's peened on and it's flush, but you know what I mean? Here's what I'm going after. This is my sow buster. This is a K-sod buster. You know, mine's a little bit bigger and wider and thicker steel, you know what I mean? Carbon steel, high carbon steel. But look at the pins. My pins are still smaller than that, you know, except excluding the spring for the spring pin and the two spring pins. But, you know, but this is a pin with a bushing. So it doesn't look uncommon on this knife to have a big pin up front. But like I said, the purpose behind this is if you guys want to do a dozen knives in a day and get the handle shape and be done with them in a day, 8-10 hour day, you don't need to clamp them and wait overnight. Expand them pins to suck it and draw it in tight, and it's golden. That was the purpose behind it. Now I'm doing this Marbles Rare Vintage Replica. I think it's the Field Guide. Let me find it here. I gotta split my screen so I can see you guys talking. So oh yeah, you are missing something. My purpose is to show you not how to bevel anything, not how to do the knife. This ain't a finished knife. When I started in the beginning, I said, I'm going to show you how this process works on a blank that I don't have heat treated. This is not a finished knife at all. My process of the purpose of the video is to show you how you draw these scales in tight without clamping. That's the only purpose of this video, this live that I did tonight. To where you can make a dozen handles and have them complete. Now, like I said, after you drill your sets of holes, front and back, then you'll take the individual scale and bevel them downwards or give them that Coke bottle look or whatever you want before you peen these together. You know, and you always get these fronts completely done right. I just rushed this just to show you how to do this process. That's all the video was about. It's not about making a knife. It's on the live video tonight is only about showing you how to peen on handles with epoxy, but no clamps. You don't need the clamps if you do it right. You know, put the epoxy on there, peen it down nice and tight. That shit will draw out. You clean it out as you go. Let it sit for 2-3 hours. Shape your knife. You're done. And that's best to do when you do a half a dozen or more knives a day. You know, if you're only doing 1 or 2 knives, yeah, go ahead and clamp them up and then let the epoxy hold the pins in and everything else. But one thing's for sure, when you peen in pins, if you only epoxy pins in and not peen them, sooner or later the handles will come loose. They'll separate from the tank. Lots of times they don't. But you're taking the chance more that it will over peening them in. Once you peen them in, they're not backing up for nothing. I mean, you got to put a razor blade in there and cut some bitches out or drill the pins out in order to get these scales out. But like I said, this video is just to show you how tight it gets, how to draw them in tight without using clamps. And in 2-3 hours, you can shape your handle. I just rushed this as demonstration purposes of doing the pins and drawing these in tight only. That's what this video is about. Not about making a beveled knife or nothing. This is one of my knives you can see my sow buster in a short video complete that I do an offer. I offer the sow buster. You can get it in a skeletal, and all my scales are hex screwed on. So you can get multiple scales off me. Say down the road you want to go from wood to bone, or from wood to stag, or from wood to buffalo, or you want to buy 5, 6 different sets of scales off me for one knife, you can. I'll have them available in all different materials. And the price will vary based on the material. But yeah, that's what this live tonight was about, just to show guys how that they can get a finished handle in less than 3 hours. 3 to 4 hours on a couple of knives without waiting overnight. So I take it there's other lives going tonight. Thursday night, somebody else is live probably. So in 10 minutes, I'm going to get out of here. I only wanted to do a 2-hour live video tonight. I did an 8-hour last night. But yeah, see, this is stacked leather. Okay, and then I'll have the same spacers in the back, and then let me bring up the knife it's going to be. Yeah. Paul and Cliff can come in and watch and talk if they like. They're both unblocked. Let me see here. Let me find this knife. Let me see. Marbles. I think it's called the Field Guide. I'm not sure. Can't remember. What the hell is this? Come on. Rex, it was an epic trade day, so I'm worn out. Enjoy your evening, brothers and sisters. All right, Brother Rex, thanks for coming in, buddy. God bless you, brother, and we'll probably see you Sunday. Sunday, fun day, and no giveaway. But I'll be making something just to show you how I make something. Let me see here. And you know what? I might give it away if I get enough super chats. It's all about the money, brother. Okay, let me see here. Marbles. Knives. Rare. What the hell was that? Oh. Rare. Fixed blades from 1916. There it is. Let me find the right one here. I'll show you the picture of it when I find it. That ain't it. It's a 1916 patent model. What is it? Can't remember the name of it. Here's the guy who got the knife on YouTube.
When buying a coffee, you want to pay right away. But buying tickets to Paris,
What the hell is all this? I want the damn YouTube.
That's when you probably pay later. With the Klarna card, debit is the...
Yep.
Hello and welcome to
YouTube.
An IQ of 85 to 115 is considered average in the U.S. And IQ of 115
What's up,
to
G-Gaming?
145
How's it
is
going?
considered high.
Brother G-Man,
And
I
an
have
IQ 145 is
something coming
considered
your way.
genius.
Oh, cool, Rex.
Are you curious to know
I
where
like
you
surprises.
stack up? You can take this
That's cool.
2-minute IQ test. That will give you detailed results
awesome.
on your IQ score and
I
cognitive
didn't get on
skills.
Deep South Cutlery tonight. I spent too much the last couple of days.
Knife Delights. I have a fantastic knife here to review today. I've got this.
Here's the knife I'm replicating
several
right
weeks
here.
ago now in an antique store. I've been wanting to do the review on it, but I got to tell you, as a avid knife collector and someone that just loves.
So you can see the blade shape.
When the two worlds collide, it is very special for me. It's very delightful. And I held off on doing this review because I had to be, I guess, in the right.
Because they have the same deer stag pommel on the back.
I have so much respect for this piece of cutlery I'm holding in my hands. There's almost a reverence to it. This is a Marbles Woodcraft model knife. And as we just
It's the Woodcraft.
glance at it here, I mean, just look at this blade. This was designed as a skinning knife for big game, processing big game. This nice wide belly here. Unfortunately, it does have a little bit of a broken tip there. But this knife was
Oh, now
really
much?
used.
You gave me?
Now, why do I have so much respect for this knife? Well, this knife is over 100 years old. This knife was made in 1915.
Yeah. That's why I'm replicating. I love the old marbles, old school. They set the trend for a lot of knives. The stacked leathers was because of marbles.
Well, it was claimed that George W. Brooks, who was a writer.
So you see here, I'll get the same spacers in the front, excluding the guard, in the back here, and then I got like it is here.
There's weird
and then
features to this.
the deer antler pommel will get screwed on in the back.
When this knife first came out, and this is one of the very first versions of it, it had a 3 1/4 inch handle. Now this has stag, so it might be this closer to 3 1/2 here. Perhaps if it had the
Let's see where I'm at.
steel or aluminum pommel to it, it was 3 1/4. But I guess this writer believed that for a skinner knife, you should have a small handle, and you should always be choking up and using it up close. And look at the jimping on that. What do you want to call that? Like a checkered? Boy, is that nice. Boy, is that nice.
See, I got the jimping on mine too.
Interesting also because it has a stag handle or a stag pommel, and then it's wrapped in leather. Now again, Marbles was the first knife company to come out with stacked leather handles. As a matter of fact,
they're the ones that innovated.
Hunting knives, the modern hunting knives, the K-bar fighting knives,
Yep.
all of those, all were copies
Of the Marbles.
first designed knives. The fighting knife was based on Marbles' Ideal knife, and the Ideal knife was the first, what we would call modern hunting knife design, and it was copied by cutlery makers around the world.
So they're different now. This one's got black,
But there was a
brass, red,
complaint about the Ideal because some thought it wasn't ideal.
black, red, black,
There was a man
red.
by the name of-
Mine's, and there's other knives that has the brass, red,
Anyway, there was a
brass,
writer that
black,
said the common
brass,
mistake
red.
among amateur hunters is that buying too heavy of a knife,
I want to look at his measurements again.
unless you expect to indulge in hand-to-hand conflicts or cut brush, such a weapon is excessive. He proclaimed a butcher knife closer to 3 1/2 here.
So I got He's got 3.5 to the end. Yeah, so I'm going to be almost 4 inches because I wanted a little bit longer handle on mine. Turn this around. Can I? No. But you can see it here. So I got 4 inches to the pommel nut. I want mine a 1/2 inch longer. So, because I got a bigger hand, I'd like to have my deer antler. So, what the heck is that now?
Now, again, they applied for a patent on this knife in 1915.
And by 1916 it was everywhere.
1915, and the patent was issued February 22nd, 1916.
Yeah.
So another reason this is such an awesome find here is when you look down there on the tang stamp, or on the reverse side, it says patent pending. So that means this was made in 1915, one of the very first early models of this knife. That is why I get such a kick, such a delight out of holding such a historical knife.
My wife said, if you win, we'll fly to Asia. If
Damn
I win,
commercials,
we'll fly to
man.
Paris. I bet you won't get toned.
Right at 8 inches.
Hi, Kitty.
I'm not
You want to come up and
weigh
see
it.
me, Kitty?
There's a little bit of dirt grime down
Oh,
in
hi.
here. My dilemma is, I like to restore knives and make them nice and shiny and try
Hi,
to
kitty.
make them look brand
Hi,
new
baby.
again. I don't know what to do with this knife. As a matter of fact, leave me a comment below what you think. My thoughts are just leaving this knife as is, pretty much. I want to do a little cleaning of some stuff down in here and kind of clean that out just a little bit.
Are you good? You want to get on my lap?
Really
Hold on, you got
leave the
eye
marble
boogies here.
Stang stamp, but it's there.
There you go.
I
Got your eye
thought about,
boogie.
reprofiling the blade and getting the point back to it, but there's no way to do that, even by, cutting down here just a little bit. You're essentially modifying the blade shape. To me, this is like a museum piece.
Oh,
And,
my cat
as
wants
you
to
go
sit
into
on
the
my lap.
museums, they
He's
might do some
he's
light
trying to
cleaning,
hint
like
to me.
what I've
Ain't you? You want to be
proposed doing
petted?
here and cleaning that out just a little bit.
So anyways, that's the
think I'll
knife
do
I'm
full
making. And talk about a few things and then I gotta get off of here. But if you're still here and you watch me do this whole process, if you haven't, go back and watch it from the beginning. But the main idea of this is to show you how I can peen on knife handles without using clamps, and 2-3 hours later I can have a finished handle after the epoxy sets up enough. It's a great way of doing lots of knives. And you can see there is no gaps because it sucks it together so tight. These handles will, I don't even have to use epoxy, to tell you the truth. Not when you peen handles on. There's a lot of companies they don't. They just super glue them to the tang, peen them in place, and the knife is done. And you see knives will last 100 years without them coming off. So, anyways, y'all ain't got much to say, so I think I'm just going to get off here. And that was my purpose of this live, because I was live 8 hours last night, and I'm going to go up and spend the rest of the night with my honey. I don't want to be down in a man cave on her all the time. And ignore her, as she says. But, yeah, if you're new to my channel and you want to see my sow buster, which is a rendition, fixed blade of a side buster, go in my shorts and look for this the Kodiak Edge Sow Buster pocket drop. And you can see this whole knife complete and how I do it with the bolt, you know, with the hex screw on heads, scales, interchangeable scales, stone wash. I even put a carving on the spine on a lot of them. Depends on the price point. Start out at 125 and go all the way up to 185. The basic 125 gets you basic wood scales, Kydex sheath with ulti-clip on it. Front pocket drop knife. So, all right, everybody, I'm getting out of here. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. And hope some of you's got something out of that. I know there's people lurking. 18 to be exact. Nobody likes to talk. It must be that boring, I guess. But if you're just now checking out this live stream, go back and watch it from the beginning if you want to see how to peen on knife handles without using clamps. And do 4 times as many knives in one night than you can using clamps. So, y'all have a great night, and I will catch you on the next live. Till then, everybody, peace. God bless y'all, and thank you.